Last time I saw you, I think it was about maybe 3-4 months ago when this was all starting.
Yeah.
We met literally over there, and I was like, Gaten.
Oh, we did meet right over there, right across the street.
Like, Gaten, I want to make Rent happen this year. Discuss. And I did not realize I was about to meet basically the biggest Rent head I will ever meet. Rent as a show is older than...
Is older than me.
Rent existed on this planet before you did.
I did, and I'm assuming it will have existed before several people in the cast.
I think all of the cast, yeah. So what is it about the show that for your generation still grabs hold of you? What is it about that?
There is a deep respect for it. I think that people around my age have. I think there's an understanding that maybe it is seen now, maybe it is a period piece. Yeah. But I think that that's what makes it so beautiful, is that you can put something on that takes place when it takes place, and you don't have to make a weird, quirky, but it's actually 2026 type of choice there for it to deeply resonate with people now.
And it's a period piece, and meaning that we can learn about the now by looking back to that moment in time. And it was an extraordinary moment in time, and a moment we should never forget.
It's a story about young people who are consistently villainized, who don't have resources, who are living in a city where cost of living is absurd, who are in the aftermath of a very different context, but in the aftermath of a global pandemic. And all these little things kind of domino out into saying, 20-year-olds have seen this. 20-year-olds have seen what this looks like consistently. And I think that's why they still resonate with it.
Of course, why do it right now? Yes, it's the 30th anniversary, but also what it has to say just feels as present as it ever has felt. Rent is just one of those shows that once it gets a hold of you, it doesn't let go. And it means so much to so many people in different ways. It's one of those shows that you just want to be a part of in your lifetime. The first time we met, I was ready to kind of talk to you about Mark and all the things that I love about Mark as a character. And the first thing you said was I think he's a problematic character. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I've always thought he was.
Yeah. So he's almost a kind of, I guess, an anti-hero.
Maybe. I think he wants to believe he's a hero. I think that's kind of so much of his drive behind making the movie that he's making, which I think we've both pointed out objectively. What he makes is beautiful and important and effective, and he does ultimately paint his friends and the world he sees in a beautiful light, in a light that needs to be seen. And I think it's so interesting because Jonathan wrote about media villainizing queer love in Tick, Tick, Boom. There's a whole chunk of that show specifically. It was clearly something that was very important to him. I think that's interesting with Mark specifically, is that there is a real drive and a love and a big heart to it. Yeah. But he fails to acknowledge his own privilege constantly. Yeah. He fails to acknowledge that he has probably the ability to maybe pull his friends out of something that they're dealing with, because he's embarrassed to admit that he's not. Yeah. This amongst the world of the bohemians.
And he's also caught between that place of trying to make a brilliant piece of art, but also that art is with his friends. And I think as a director, that's something that is really relatable. You want to be the person who can bring it all together, but you also don't want to interfere with what's going on. I think that's what you find in that moment in Halloween, that he's got the responsibility of telling this story, but he will always then be on the outside of it.
It's that window into his brain that's really jarring, I think, for him and for the audiences to see, especially. I think it's the only time he's ever on stage alone. Yeah. Which is it's the one time he can kind of wash off any fear of perception and just kind of be honest. And I think also that line, he's documenting his life with his friends, who it's very clear because of the lack of medicine at the time that they're when he says, "Will it mean that it's the end and I'm alone?" He is very well aware that a good chunk of his friends are dying actively soon, and that's in itself, and almost maybe capturing it and being able to himself watch it consistently that might be too much. It may be easier to have a beautiful memory, but having access to seeing how great that is consistently after it's gone is terrifying.
One of the things that we're toying about as we go into rehearsals for this is how much of the footage is Mark making in the moment, and how much of it is almost a memory play for him.
Yeah, I've been so curious to hear how literally that was going to be approached.
And one of the things I want us to look into together is, how did he edit these films together and like develop the film, and talking to Nathan Amzai, who's working with us along with George Reeve on the video design, and Nathan does brilliant work with camera. He's a incredible cinematographer in his own right. He wants to work with us on looking at exactly what is the camera that Mark has.
I would love to learn more.
And exactly how does that work? And being in a digital age now, where we just bounce it off our phones, like there was something precious about that like analog medium of, if I turn this camera on, there's one shot at it, and that is the film in that camera then becomes an imprint of it. I think that'd be really cool to look at.
I've been obsessed with the idea of that.
I do have to correct you on something. When you said earlier, Mark will be alone in Halloween. Of course you won't be. We'll be alone on stage in Halloween. Of course you will not be, because you're going to have 100 audience members on stage with you. A lot of the audience are going to be closer to you than I am now. So,
Okay, cool.
so be prepared.
Okay, we'll do.
But I think what I love about that is it's going to have this intensity. It's going to be this just like melting pot of the story meeting the music, meeting the artists, meeting the audience, and the audience are going to play a really vital role in this, because they're literally there. When you read the original, that first stage direction, Jonathan's really clear that there should be no barrier between the audience, between the artists, the actors. He's very clear that it's everybody's in this together telling a story. I think he says, we should see like the stage management team like setting up the stage.
Oh, cool. Has that ever been done?
Well, in the original, I know that that's where they started, but I'm excited to lean back into that here. Cool. Like I wonder, again, because the audience is sat on the stage, there's not going to be any wings. There's literally going to be nowhere to hide.
Oh,
so,
sure.
Yeah, and the band are going to be there.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I'm going to be there, and the audience are going to be right here.
Okay, cool.
I think one of the challenges that I'm really aware of when you come to Rent as a director is not to sort of just romanticize it as a show, it's very easy to kind of hear some of the amazing melodies and go and just be swept away by the music. But of course, it's a tragedy at its heart. But yet, I think part of the reason it's stood the time, the 30 years, is because it does give us some sort of roadmap of hope forwards.
I feel like that's Angel's entire arc, is understanding how finite everything immediately feels for all of them, and just grabbing it and loving it as fiercely and as intensely as you can. The show is also so much fun. And I think it can be. And I think that there's a reason that people are so attracted to the idea of seeing the show if it's something that they've just listened to, if it's a soundtrack that they've heard, because it's brilliantly written, it's brilliantly scored. It's some of them, I mean, for lack of a better word, there's a lot of bangers in that show. It is so fun to listen to.
I think I found revisiting the show is, yes, the music's incredible, but lyrically, it's extraordinary. The older I get, the more a lot of those words, resonate with me. And even just taking the idea of no day but today, like what a manifesto for life. Actually, casting this show or bringing people to it, like yourself, it almost feels like people sort of self-select for it.
Sure.
It's not even like a kind of audition process, because people are just like, I am here, I am going to be in this because of ...
Does that make it harder for you?
Auditions are the part of the process that I find hardest in my job anyway, because of the kind of, I guess, responsibility of that, actually.
Same.
Yeah. It's like, you're meeting people and you're like, oh, the decision that we're about to make is going to have an impact on your life as an actor, in one direction or another. But actually for this show, I think I don't feel that, because somebody comes in and they connect with the material and you just go, oh my gosh, it is you.
I've always noticed there are some shows that come through where just the opportunity to read and sing through the material in front of people who are responsible for making it a thing almost feels like enough. And that's why I think that can be really special for something like this. I can imagine everybody who's auditioning for the show has dreamt of doing it.
Yeah.
And so there is like there aren't really any questions about what's needed and what's been done before and what's to be expected, and it just seems like something that everybody jumping into just doesn't know how not to pour everything into it, and it's got to be so cool to see.
And you know, myself included, we grew up with these characters in our lives as well. You know, when I was discovering a lot about who I am in the world and my own sexuality, I remember, you know, hearing the lyrics to the song "I'll Cover You," and just it gave me like a pathway forwards to understand that actually like romantic love can exist in a under a queer lens. And so,
do you find that frustrating that something that was written 30 years ago is still seen as being like radically progressive in today's lens? Like, is that something that's like, why the fuck are we still here?
Yeah, I think it does frustrate me that we are still in that place in the world, and that's probably a running theme through the shows that I do, and definitely what's been part of the fire in my belly about this show, like measure in love. That's if any of the characters, their crises in the piece, their conflicts, the answer is to measure in love. And I think like whatever challenges we have in making the show, if we like stick to that manifesto, the like no day but today, let's make choices where we've got no regrets. That's what I think will make it special.
Cool.
All right.
That was awesome, guys.
Are we done?
Yeah, we're
What
done.
about all the other questions?